Come on, Mike. Man, we got to introduce ourselves. I'll do it. Welcome to Two Dudes in a Garage. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Dudes in a Garage. I'm Brad. My partner in crime, Mr. Mike, is at work, a.k.a. the legend. He's at work, but we will be back tomorrow recording another video. So make sure you check it out. These will be dropping later this weekend, and it's our return back to podcasting from a little sabbatical. We've been gone a little bit over a year because we've been dealing with life stuff and trying to stay out of a little bit of the political stuff for a while, but we've been drawn back in, and we're going to start putting out regular videos all the time. So make sure you check us out. If you would, please subscribe, like, comment on these videos that we make. It helps us out, and it makes me feel like we're doing something that matters to not just us, but matters to other people. With that said, the reason I want to do this video by myself, without Mike today, because it's kind of serious to me, and it kind of I got woken up yesterday. So yesterday I was talking to a close friend of mine, a guy I've known for a few years. He's a United States Marine. He's inactive. Actually got hurt in the Marine Corps, so he was medically discharged. But he's a diehard Marine. He is a diehard Republican, and he's a diehard conservative. But he was talking to me, and we were talking about something totally not on the subject he brought up to me. But all of a sudden, he said, "Hey, man, I just want to let you know that some of the guys we knew back where I used to live are probably going to be upset with me and mad because I'm going to go to church on Sunday and tell them I no longer want my tithes or anything that I put into the church going to Israel." And I was like, okay, that's weird, but why? He said, my eyes have been open to what Israel has done and the atrocities and how much they control our government, et cetera, et cetera. Went into the whole spiel, which I'll go over in depth in this video. But it surprised me, and I didn't even know what to say. And he was honestly talking to me like a lot of the time the left does, where they will speak over you and not let you voice your opinion or say what you want to say. He just kept talking, and I was like, but, and I'll give you some references later on in the video, and we'll go over it more about what was said and some of the beliefs that he had heard and stuff. But it made me stop and think, and I spent a long time last night and today thinking about how the Republican Party has all of a sudden become divided. One thing you can say about the Democratic Party is that they follow party lines. 9 times out of 10, unless you're a Manchin or a Fetterman, you vote and follow whatever the Democratic Party says or does, you follow it. Whether you believe that ideology or believe in that law or bill or whatever, you usually follow along the Democratic lines, which is going to bring me to another video I'm going to do later about how maybe it's time to get rid of the two-party system. But anyway, that's another video. But most of the time, Democrats follow their own, and they stay in line, and they do their thing, even when their ideas are absolutely batshit crazy. You know, I know that there are many, many Democrats, I'm sure, that honestly don't believe that men should be playing in women's sports. And yet, that's party lines. You've got to follow what they all say, and you got to do what they ask you to do. So you stick to the talking points. And I'm sure a lot of them don't absolutely positively despise Donald Trump or Republicans. But that's what you're told to say, so that's what you do. So Democrats usually stick to their own. Well, of late, Republicans are kind of all over the place, which is not a bad thing, but if they disagree with the bill ahead or disagree with a policy or disagree with something, one, they definitely voice their opinion. 2 is they vote their opinion. And 3, lately, they've been making a pretty big stink about it. I know Rand Paul, I believe, has voted against the continuing resolution, not because he disagrees that the things Democrats want is right, but he disagrees that we shouldn't just keep pissing out money all over the place without any rhyme or reason or without buckling it down, which I can understand. It's not solving a problem, but he's standing on his morals. I get it. I got it. And with that being said, one of the things that we forget is that every person, every country, every religion, just about everything in this world, just because you agree with them on some things, they can do or say bad things. It just happens. No one in this world, no country, no religion, no person is perfect. To my knowledge, the only perfect person that's ever been is Jesus Christ. And I'm sorry, none of us live up to that. We all try to do good. We all try to be a decent human being. I'm sure we try to follow the rules that we believe in our heart that the Holy Spirit tells us, but we're not perfect. And that goes the same with if you support America, or if you support Israel, if you support the state of South Carolina, or you support whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with every single thing that they say or do. You can disagree with them on a regular basis. And that's one of the things that I actually do like about the Republican Party, because when they disagree, they say it. They don't just go along the party lines. They disagree and do that. But of late, what has happened is because of the extreme differences, we've created a rift. And a rift that could really cause us problems come midterms and could, in the end, destroy what we consider the Republican Party. I am a Republican, but I consider myself more of as a conservative, because all the ideas that stand, a lot of Republicans stand for are not necessarily my exact stand, like pro-life. I understand you have to agree and compromise on certain things to get bills passed and to pass laws and to do things. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to be that guy that says, I'm sorry, there is no reason except for emergency medical procedures, etc., for a woman to take a life of an unborn child. I can't get on board with it. Nothing's going to change my mind. I don't care if it's, once that heartbeat's in there, I think all bets are off. It's done. I understand why some Republicans say, okay, certain months, etc., you got to pass bills or whatever, but I am an ultra conservative when it comes to that. I'm also a conservative on, there are certain things that the government should stay out of. I think, what you do in your house, it should be fine. That's a long list, and that's another video. We can go into that later, and that's fine. My video today is about how all of a sudden when Candace Owens, a very strong conservative Republican who I have listened to over the years and respect so many things she's done, and Tucker Carlson, who I absolutely positively have listened to his things and respected, even when he went off the reservation on certain interviews he's done where that I disagreed with. I haven't watched all his interviews, but I've heard bits and pieces of them, and some of the interviews I felt like, I don't agree. Just like, for example, Andrew Tate. He has said some very conservative things that make sense, and he has said some absolutely horrible things. Some of his views on women and some of his views on how the world should be are not my thing, and I can't deny that it seems like he did some pretty shady shit. But, that's not here and there. I'm just saying Andrew Tate's not a guy that I would want my children to follow and listen to on a regular basis. But certain Republicans do listen to him, and he has said some smart things. Just because you're a good person or a bad person doesn't mean you always say bad things, or doesn't mean you always say good things. There are bad people that can say good things. There are good people that can say bad things. There are good people that I disagree with. There are bad people that sometimes I agree with. It's called human nature, and letting your conviction or your Holy Spirit guide you on what you think is right or wrong, and not just being a robot for a party or ideology, etc. With that being said, for those of you who don't know, Candace Owens for the last few years has come out very strongly against Israel. So at first it was a pissing contest between her and Ben Shapiro because, to my knowledge, what it was Kane, whatever his name is now, West, he came out and said in a tweet that Kane West said, DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people. And Candace kind of like, I get you, I understand where you're coming from. She kind of swept it under the bridge and kind of agreed with it a little bit. Didn't come out and say it's bad or didn't come out and say it's good, but just kind of swept it under the bridge. That started a whole whirlwind of, that's the first example I see of where she's conflicted with Israel about things. And since then, her and Ben Shapiro have had arguments and fights, and she was with the Daily Wire, now she's whatnot, and since then she's gone on a rant about Israel pretty much. And now she's got all kinds of weird things she's talking about that everybody has a right to their opinion, but when you say outlandish, crazy stuff and you pull part of your own party and divide them, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. She might truly believe it in her heart, or she might just try to be getting clicks. I don't know. That's in Candace's heart. She has to do what she thinks right. But some of the things Candace has said is she has said Israel is demonic, that Netanyahu is a demon. Like, she literally said that in an interview, that Netanyahu is a demon. She has gone crazy about Macron, the French president's wife, that she is really a dude and related to him or something. And it's gotten so bad that the Macrons have filed a lawsuit against her for defamation. And here's something I'll say about that, just on that side note, just real quick. If they did a lawsuit, well, in lawsuits, you have discovery. So you have to provide all this information. So if the girl or him, whatever, his wife, is a dude, that all comes out in that lawsuit. So why would they do a lawsuit against Candace if she's really a dude? And at the end of the day, who cares? I don't care if his wife is a dude or not. He's the French president. He has nothing to do with me sitting in South Carolina. Just like I didn't see her losing her feathers over whether Michelle Obama's a dude or not. And to be honest with you, I don't care. If Obama wants to hook up with a girl that used to be a dude, it's none of my business. He's not the president anymore. He's done his time. It didn't cause any issues while he's in office. So many other policies did. But Michelle being a dude or not a dude didn't change anything in his presidency. It really didn't. He can freaking flap and flop her with a wiener all day. It don't change me at all. To me, Obama's irrelevant now. He's out of office. His terrible policies are gone. His third presidency with Joe Biden's over. So I'm good. But she goes down a rabbit hole with that. And so, and she says some very derogatory things about Jews and Israel. And a matter of fact, I think she was voted like anti-Semite of the year, semester, whatever it is, of the year. Anyway, she creates all these rabbit holes that people are starting to follow, go down. And she has gone full-blown conspiracy theory on just about everything. So one of the things, I don't know if you noticed my shirt, Charlie Kirk shirt, one of the things she's also done is blaming Israel and blaming our United States government for covert operations that took Charlie Kirk out. Now, I understand we should question everything, but here's what's going on. And I'll lay all this stuff that I'm going to talk about today under one thing. I made a video talking about how the left never lets a victory go. It's always they have to push the issue afterwards. The example I used was when Obama passed gay marriages. Nobody really cared if a dude and a dude got married. Now, we won't recognize it. Christian people won't necessarily recognize it as a marriage, but if you have a union with a dude or two girls have a union, so what? It doesn't really affect me in my day-to-day life. I don't care. But I said at the time, I'm like, you've opened Pandora's box, because that's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for the Democrats or for the far left. That's not going to be enough. It starts here, but it won't end here. The next thing you know, a couple years later, we got dudes in the bathroom. Then we got dudes in women's sports. And now we can't even define a woman. So they open that Pandora's box, and now it's wide open, and there's no limitations on what's right and wrong and sexuality and et cetera, and it's chaos. Like I said, another video. But what all of a sudden has happened with the right that I'm seeing now is that when it comes to COVID, the conspiracy theorists on the right were right. There was complications with it. It didn't protect you. It didn't help you. They were pushing this untested thing on it. So we won the conspiracy theorists on that situation. What has happened since then is that because we won, we feel like everything out there is a conspiracy. Now, not every Republican or not every conservative, but a lot of us, a lot of conservative commentators or, high-end people think everything is a conspiracy now. And they get all kinds of clicks because they're talking about the conspiracy. Something I've learned in my, getting older is that sometimes shit just happens. There is no conspiracy, and sometimes there is. And maybe I'm wrong on everything I talk about today, but sometimes shit just happens. And at the end of the day, what difference does it make if there's a conspiracy? People don't get held accountable in today's age. You know, we can have all these committees and we can do all this. Fauci still walks free. All these people that have done terrible things, Hillary Clinton, all these people that have done things, Jack Smith, they still walk free. Epstein, the list is still out there. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of things, and nobody's held accountable. So you can bitch and moan about conspiracy theories all day, and it's not going to change anything. At the end of the day, you have to surround yourself and believe in people that you believe in. And you have to believe and vote and do things the way you think are right. And we're diving down so many rabbit holes with UFOs, and it's getting crazy. And what we're doing in the meantime is part A believes this, part B believes this, part C believes this. Well, if part B says something that part C doesn't believe, then A and B are on C's butt, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What we're doing is dividing our party. First of all, we have to agree that sometimes we're not going to agree 100%. It's just not going to happen. But when it comes to voting and doing things in the public, we need to show a unified front until the other side decides that they want to play the moral game too and actually vote their conscience. In the meantime, if we keep dividing ourselves on every issue, nothing's going to get done because they're always going to vote the same way and we're going to vote separate. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we have got to find a balance of conservatism. You can't be conservative on this issue and not this issue and then not on this issue. And then tomorrow, oh, now I am conservative on this issue, but I'm not conservative on this issue, and et cetera, et cetera. To me, being a conservative is living by a biblical standard for a Judeo-Christian existence, having my own moral compass, voting and living and trying to do by that moral compass. The way I vote, the way I speak, the way I talk about things, and things can change. Life changes, you get a better perspective, you get a different perspective, but you stay on those moral standards. And one of the moral standards that I've always grown up with is that Jewish people are God's chosen people. And I got an argument about that too, about how once Christ came, now we all are. We can debate Christianity and theology later, but the Bible that I read, Jews are God's people. First of all, whether they're God's people or not, they're people. They're a group of individuals that if anybody else called for the destruction of them, like Hamas and Iran and certain groups do, people would be losing their minds. Could you imagine if people called for the destruction of black people? Oh my gosh, the world would go freaking crazy. Or if the people called for the destruction of Hispanic people, people would go crazy. Anyway, groups call for the destruction of Israel, and Israel all of a sudden still is the bad guy. That's beside the point. So Candace has structured and said things that broke her away from Israel, and she really portrays Israel. But that was kind of a Candace Owens thing. So then I find out Tucker, who has had some questionable guests on there, Putin, the Iranian, whatever they call him, Ayatollah or whatever. He had him on there, and I just question some of the interviews he does. Just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you have to promote certain people. And he kind of gives them softball questions, but it is what it is. But the final straw that for me with Tucker was he had Nick Fuentes on there. I believe I said his name right. I try not to talk about him because I didn't even know who the hell he was till he went on Tucker Carlson. But I did some research on this dude, and this dude, and I don't use this lightly, but this scumbag literally talks shit about every people in the world that aren't white dudes. I'm sorry, white Christian dudes. Now, I don't want him associated with me. I'm sorry, like, him and I don't piss in the same pond because I consider myself a conservative Christian. That is how I consider myself. An American conservative Christian. I believe in the national, I believe in our country, I believe in my Christian views, I believe the Bible is true and it's a living word, and I believe in less government and that certain things are not right. You know, abortion. I don't believe in legalizing drugs, but it is what it is. There's a long list of things that makes me conservative. But I pretty much stick to my grounds, and you can change my mind, but I'm willing to listen, and I know that you have to pass things, but I pretty much stay the same way. I've stayed the same way through my life and through the last 5 years. There's been some things that I've said, I shouldn't be so rough around the edges about it, but I still have the same belief. I just don't voice it as loud. Transvestites. But it is what it is. Anyway, so Tucker has this dude on there that literally hates women. He definitely despises black people. He daggone hates Jews. He literally, on one of the things I watched, and I just Googled the guy and watched his videos, talks about Hitler on Friday. It's Hitler, horror Hitler or whatever. He talks about how smart Sterling was and how cool Hitler was. This guy is just not a good person. Like, at the end of the day, man, you can have different views, but anybody that kills a lot of people and causes that much harm, and you literally, like, are voting for him or cheering him on, you might have some issues. So this dude, first of all, does that. He dogs out people that, if you're Christian and you don't treat black people or treat Jews or treat gay people terribly, that you're just not truly Christian. It's just got a lot of views that are just out there. Where Tucker does an interview with him. And in his interview, they definitely dogged the shit out of Israel. But he also daggone softball picks with everything this dude does. So this guy gets away with, he never questions him about all the terrible things this guy says, never questions him about some of the views he has and some of the people that he has following. He's got a group called Gropers, and he never hits him hard. And Tucker's been that guy that said, hey, man, why aren't they sending softball things to Kamala? And why are they sending softball things to Joe Biden? And why are they sending softball things to this? And I'm sorry, dude, I'm not a Joe Biden fan, a Kamala Harris fan. I'm not a Tim fan, none of that stuff. But those people aren't even as bad as this Nick Fuentes guy. We have different views, but I don't consider them bad, terrible people like I do this Nick Fuentes guy for the views he says. Now, he might not believe this stuff. It might just be for clicks. But the things that he says on this thing, man, are like way out there and totally off the reservation for me. It don't work for me. But anyway, Tucker has him on there, and it divides the Republican Party more. And again, he gives them softball questions, and he just promotes more and more how much he pretty much despises Israel, and Israel is leading our government down a bad way, and et cetera. And I just don't understand how all of a sudden Israel and Jewish people become all the bad guys. I don't get it. I really don't understand. You can disagree with what happened in Gaza. You can disagree of how they did about it. But let me just ask you a question, and I want you to put in the comments what you think, and I'll end today with this, and we can talk about this another time, because I have a lot to say. But I just want to leave this question out there for everybody watching today. And hopefully you watch it all the way through. Again, subscribe, like, comment. It helps spread what we're talking about and helps us make more videos. It gives us the motivation to do it again. But I just want you for a second to imagine October 7th happened in Texas. The Mexican people in Mexico came across the border and did what they did in Israel in Texas. Now, the first thing somebody said to me when I used this argument was, well, Israel took the land from the Palestinians. Well, I'm not trying to give you a history lesson, but really, if you want to talk about it, we took the land in Texas from Mexico. Whole other story, but the comparison are pretty close. So if Mexico came across the border October 7th, 2023, and did what they did in Israel to Texas, what, honestly, do you think the response of the United States government, and if not the United States government, Texas, would have been on Mexico? I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that within a week, Mexico would have been a freaking Walmart. If not a Walmart, there'd have been 17 locations of Family Dollars there, because that shit would have been a parking lot. We'd have gone full out, bond, boom, bye, Jackson, see you later, gone. We wouldn't have put up that shit. But all of a sudden, everybody in the world thinks Israel should put up with that. And the only thing they can say is, well, the reason these monsters, these terrible people, they don't say that, I say that, these scumbags went across the border and did this to Israel and to Jewish people is because they did this and this and this and this. First of all, I'm sorry. I don't give a shit what anybody does. Nothing justifies rape, murder, kidnapping, and burning babies in a freaking oven. Ain't shit nobody's ever done before that justifies that. You can try to convince me all you want. Ain't going to happen. That shit is off the chain. Don't tell me about some land grab and that's what they deserve. First of all, that's number one. Number two is every country and every people and every place has taken the land that they have now from somebody else. Does that mean that everybody gets to do some terrorist shit on every country and every people of every place in the world? I don't think so. How much land have we taken from people in the American? But shit happens, it's done. We are all Americans now. With that being said, man, I've used up my time for the day. Hey, I really appreciate you guys watching what I did tonight. Me and Mike, again, like I said, we'll be recording tomorrow. We'll be back. Thank you so much for listening to me. Hopefully you agree with some of my views. If you don't, tell me that too. Please, as always, follow, leave a comment, and like our videos. God bless. I love you. And God bless Israel.